Welcome, friends. It's Kaylee Bird, and I am excited to share with you the first 3D oil painting of a guy I have ever done. Aside from a few commissions, I rarely paint men, and so I'm really excited to share with you this process today because I know a lot of us can tend to just paint the ladies over and over again, but hey, I'm here to show you that the fellas can be quite inspiring too. If you'd like to learn more about the techniques I use for oil painting, including how to set up, how to mix colors, and even multiple ways to blend, go ahead and check out this playlist I've got on the screen or in the description below. I've created a complete guide to oil painting that will share with you all of my different techniques that I'm applying in this and all my other videos. So I know I've discussed in past videos how much I love to use regular everyday people, and namely my own friends, people that I know in my own life, as my models, and in this case it is no different. This is actually a painting of an old friend of mine, Chris, who I've known since I was in middle school many years ago. He and I and a bunch of our friends would go to concerts, exchange mixtapes, run around through the neighborhood, and just get into all kinds of teenage mayhem together back in the day. Don't tell Mom. But he's a really good friend of mine still to this day and very inspiring. So I'm really excited to try and highlight his individualistic personality in this painting. And of course, like so many of my paintings, this work also has very dramatic lighting. So in order not to make the right side of his face look bleached out and the left side of his face look too dark, I wanted to find some nice cooler tones within the skin. Well, cooler and warmer, I should say. There's some nice cooler blue on the side of his face, and then of course you can see some of the purples on his cheeks and around his eyes. And then you'll see in a minute that I find some really nice warm tones within the shadows as well, especially above his eyebrows, just to kind of give a nice reflective light off the side of his cheeks. I actually really appreciated the very high contrast that this intense shadow on the left side of his nose gave. I feel like the nose, since it is one of the most topographic, it's like the mountainous region of the face, having a really good nose, i.e. nose shadow, can help to make the rest of the face really pop off. So having this super intense, almost like a perfect outline across half of it, really, I think, helped to make the rest of this piece pop off the linen so well. As I always tell my art students, contrast is your friend. Try to get in a very light tonal value right next to a very dark tonal value, as close as you can and as an intensive jump as you possibly can, at least once or twice in your paintings. Because if you can do that, then you can make some real dimension and everything else will sort of fall into place, popping off the page like that. That is always my goal, to find a super high value right next to a super dark value. And speaking of not used to having male subjects, I don't even remember the last time I have painted facial hair. It has been years upon years. You know what they say about the eyes being the window to the soul? Well, I definitely appreciate Chris's piercing blue eyes. He is certainly an intellect, one of the most intelligent people I've ever known, and he's got a lot going on behind those eyes. So I was definitely trying to show as much expression and thought as I possibly could. And it was also very interesting because I had to paint one in this very bright light and then paint the other one in this darker light, but yet still make them look like they were two halves of a whole. So reconstructing the first tones in slightly darker tonal values for the second eye was a fun challenge unto itself.
Sound of the 80s. Suddenly you hear it everywhere. It's all beat and all talk. It tells you a story and makes you want to dance. Steve Fox examines an overnight phenomenon, rapping to the beat.
So just like I had to pull a few cool tones out of the bright side of Chris's face, there were actually a few cool tones in the shaded part of Chris's face, even though that was relatively warm as well. I just love finding all those secret little lowlights and highlights and lowlights and all those little fun discoverables that you find when you're really getting deep into a painting. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I love painting ears. I think maybe it's because there's so many crevices and turns, which really gives you the opportunity to get some great contrast in there and give yourself a really good 3D effect. I can remember even being back in high school, I did a few ear paintings just because I thought they were so interesting with all their little folds and crevices. Due to my paintings being created in oil and using multimedia, multi-layers, having to wait for resin and all that kind of thing and curing, I'm not able to come out with YouTube videos of my paintings super frequently. But if you enjoy watching my process, then you should definitely pop over to my Instagram, where I post little process videos just like this one in my reels on a pretty regular basis. That way you can get your little teasers of my paintings as they come along, and once they're all finished, then you can watch the whole shebang, including a lot more details here on YouTube. Now, aside from needing to give Chris his little bit of 5 o'clock mustache there, of course, I had to come on down and give him the little bit of forearm fuzz he's got going on too. This is a good little practice because I don't honestly remember the last time I've painted any kind of body hair. Well, I shouldn't take that back. I have had a few of my female models who have unshaven armpits, but actually doing real body hair like this, I think it's great. I think it adds a degree of realism, and I kind of had to remind myself how to do it. Just darker strokes on the back and lighter strokes as it comes forward to the light. Easy peasy. I actually was not planning on adding mushrooms to Chris's golden hat, but it sort of came to me last minute. So this is another little Instagram reel of some chicken of the woods mushrooms, and then you'll see some little white mushrooms coming out of his fingers. I just wound up thinking, hey, if we really want him to be splendorific and in the nature, then we should make the nature coming out of every little space we can. I decided to keep Chris's shirt quite neutral so that I could put a plethora of insects and things on there and he would really pop out. So I had to go ahead and decide where I wanted to place everything, including hammering a few nails to prop up some of the insects, which, let me tell you, hammering your artwork is always very, very nerve-wracking. Once I got everything placed, I needed to figure out exactly what kind of shadow shapes they would make from the quote-unquote sun so I could paint them on in a believable way. So once all the oil paint was completely done, dried, and cured, I could finally start gluing down the insects and bugs in order to resin them in. Then once the glue is dry, I check my surface to make sure it is all level and then can finally start pouring some resin. I like to pour very slowly so that I wind up filling around the creatures instead of dumping on top of them, especially since some of them have little teeny tiny spindly little legs. I don't want to break anything, so it's a very careful process while I'm pouring resin. And then I gently tilt at the end to make sure everything gets covered evenly. With this painting, I actually wound up doing 3 layers of resin because I wanted to elevate the little pinwheels in between them. So I know this is kind of a bad shot, but I think you get the drift. So here it is, my completed Splendorifica, complete with gold leaf, these little pink pinwheels that fell off a tree in front of my apartment. I've got a real leaf bug, a cicada shell, 2 other water bug shells from around my parents' house, a real butterfly, and then a few faux butterflies of various sizes, along with some dried ferns I've collected on my hikes. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I feel like it's got a lot of movement in it, and I just love Chris's expression. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this amazing process. If you'd like to learn more about oil painting yourself, check out this playlist on the left. If you'd like to see more of my 3D oil painting videos, check out this playlist on the right, and I will see you guys soon.